Good morning, children. Today, in this class, we will have a discussion about Chapter 2 of English Literature. The name of the chapter is Traveling with Grandfather's Zoo, and it is written by Ruskin Bond. Children, Ruskin Bond was born in 1934. He is an Indian author of British origin. His novels, poems, short stories, and essays display his love for nature, particularly the mountains. He wrote his first novel, The Room on the Roof, at the age of 17. He won the Sahitya Academy Award, the Padma Shri, and the Padma Bhushan. His literary works include The Angry River, Rain in the Mountains, and Scenes from a Writer's Life. Award-winning films have been made based on his original stories. A Flight of Pigeons and The Blue Umbrella. Children, now let's start the chapter. This chapter is about the adventures that take place when a family decides to travel with few of their exotic and uncommon pets. All aboard, shrieked Popeye, grandmother's pet parrot, as the family climbed aboard the Lucknow Express. We were moving for some months from Dehra to Lucknow, and as grandmother had insisted on taking her parrot along, grandfather and I insisted on bringing our pets too, a thin-aged tiger, grandfather's, and a small squirrel, mine, but we thought it prudent to leave the python behind. So, the family was traveling from Dehra to Lucknow, and they had taken their pets along with them. The pets they had were a thin-aged tiger, a small squirrel, and a pet parrot. They also had a python whom they left behind. In those days, trains in India were not so crowded, and it was possible to travel with a variety of creatures. Grandfather had decided to do things in style by traveling first class. So we had a 4-berth compartment of our own, and Timothy, the tiger, had an entire berth to himself. So in those days, children, trains in India were not so crowded like today, and they could carry whatever they like. And the grandfather had decided to do things in style by traveling first class, and they had taken a 4-berth compartment on, and Timothy the tiger had an entire berth to himself. Later, everyone agreed that Timothy behaved perfectly throughout the journey. Even the guard admitted that he could not have asked for a better passenger. No stealing from vendors, no shouting at coolies, no breaking of railway property, no spitting on the platform. So, throughout the journey, Timothy behaved very well. Even the guard said that he could not have asked for a better passenger than him, as there was no stealing from vendors, no shouting at coolies, no breaking of railway property, or no spitting on the platform. All the same, the journey was not without incident, and before we reached Lucknow, there was excitement enough for everyone. To begin with, Popeye objected to vendors and other people poking their hands in through the windows. Before the train had moved out of the Dehra station, he had nipped 2 fingers and tweaked a ticket inspector's ear. No sooner had the train started moving than Chips, my squirrel, emerged from my pocket to examine his surroundings. Before I could stop him, he was out of the compartment door, scurrying along the corridor. So, Popeye the parrot objected to vendors and other people poking their hands in through the window. He had bit sharply fingers and tweaked a ticket inspector's ear. Tweaked means twisted. Okay, twisted a ticket inspector's ear. Then Chips, the squirrel, emerged from the narrator's pocket to examine his surroundings. So, the squirrel started moving hurriedly out of the compartment door along the corridor. Chips discovered that the train was a squirrel's paradise, almost all the passengers having bought large quantities of roasted peanuts before the train pulled out. He had no difficulty in making friends with both children and grown-ups, and it was an hour before he returned to our compartment, his tummy almost bursting. "I think I will go to sleep," said Grandmother, covering herself with a blanket and stretching out on the berth opposite Timothy's. "It's been a tiring day." "Aren't you going to eat anything?" asked Grandfather. "I am not hungry. I had some soup before we left. You two help yourselves from the tiffin basket." Grandmother dozed off, and even Popeye started nodding, lulled to sleep by the clackety clack of the wheels and the steady puffing of the steam engine. "Well, I am hungry," I said. "What did Granny make for us?" "Sandwiches, boiled eggs, a roast chicken, gooseberry pie. It's all in the tiffin basket under your berth." I tugged at the large basket and dragged it into the center of the compartment. The straps were loosely tied. No sooner had I undone them than the lid flew open and I let out a gasp of surprise. In the basket was Grandfather's pet python, curled up contentedly on the remains of our dinner. Grandmother had insisted that we leave the python behind, and Grandfather had let it loose in the garden. Somehow it had managed to snuggle itself into the tiffin basket. "Well, what are you staring at?" asked Grandfather from his corner. "It's the python," I said, "and it has finished all our dinner." So, as the narrator felt hungry, he tried to get the tiffin basket, and when he opened, he found that Grandfather's pet python was curled up contentedly on the remains of their dinner. So, let me stop here for today. We will see the remaining part of the chapter tomorrow. Until then, stay home and stay safe.